like, oh, this might end up being a 15-minute. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Money with Friends. I'm Joe. It's my friend Bobby. We make a podcast called Money with Friends, which is on Westwood One. But today it's on YouTube and it's with you. So we have not yet hit the recorder. So we generally hang out here for a second. However, we've got another podcast we're recording in 30 minutes because I'm traveling the rest of the week.
Yes, you have a podcast. I have to drive a child.
Yeah.
To activities. Who's not in sleepaway camp because of the pandemic?
Bobby the bus driver. That's what we call her. Bobby the bus driver.
Carpool time.
Let's see if I can. I can't center myself.
I gotta teach. Can 13-year-olds drive yet? No.
Oh, okay. I got to tell you. So my kids, were on the swim team and they practiced at 5:30 in the morning.
You allowed that?
Before
you set that up. You allowed them to do that. You should have asked them to do a different kind of sport.
I love the fact they were swimmers. I got to tell you, in their school, the smart kids who stayed out of trouble were swimmers. So being a part of the swim team at Texas High, Texarkana was a great place for them to be. But I will tell you this, at age 16, on their 16th birthday, something I didn't think I would ever do. I handed them the keys because I hated getting up at 5 a.m. to drive them to practice. I was so over it. Yes. I'm like, no, the last 2 years or year and a half, I've driven you to practice. Yeah. Day one, I'm like, no, it's you. It's you. You get to drive.
Yeah. It's hard though. So we have, we're in New York City, so we have city kids and they grew up here, and most city kids, they just don't drive. So our kids don't drive. Obviously the 13-year-old also doesn't drive, but I don't know. I don't know if that will change. It's an interesting thing, but they don't need that. They have the freedom not in this time because some of the activities this summer are in the suburbs, but in general, kids have freedom and they don't really motivate to learn to drive in the city. But it's also really hard, to be honest with you. Driving, I don't know if I would have gotten a license so fast if it meant learning to drive in an urban area like this. It's really challenging. It's tough. So I think that you have to find a life phase where you're in the suburbs somewhere.
Yeah, I know people that have driven their whole life and don't like driving in New York.
It's terrifying.
That's all I'm going to say. I think it's fun. I actually do think it's fun. But
it's kind of like bumper car video game. Like, how much defense can you play in New York City?
Yeah. How many taxi drivers can cut you off?
So fun. I had a bus once. I mean, it's not fun. That's a story for another day. It wasn't moving.
It's like in the rural areas where I grew up, people hit a deer. Where Bobby lives, she hit the bus.
I had an MTA Metro bus at Fifth Avenue. Yes, it's true. The commuters that all had to get off, it was like 8:40 in the morning. I was taking my son to school. Maybe closer to 8. They were thrilled. They had to get off the bus. The whole accident, it was terrible. It was humiliating too. Now I've revealed it even more. So, but this is just us. So it's okay.
All right, guys. Let's talk about this vaccine stock. I might as well hit record, shouldn't I?
Yeah, let's hit record.
This is going to be for 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 20th, the day after my sister's birthday.
Happy birthday.
And we're live.
On this episode of Money with Friends, Moderna shares jump after the company reports big progress, I should say, on its coronavirus vaccine. It is Monday, July 20th. This is Money with Friends. Welcome to the Money with Friends podcast. I am certified financial planner, Bobby Rebell, host of the Financial Grown Up podcast, coming to you from my very grown up kitchen in New York City.
And coming to you from my mom's half-finished basement in Dallas, Texas, where we make the Stacking Benjamin show. I'm Joe Saul-Sehy.
This is the Money News Show that includes commentary on recent headlines and stories with thought leaders from across the financial landscape. We break those stories down into what matters to you, our friends, and we leave you with a takeaway to make it your own.
Optimize your financial life in Google Sheets or in Microsoft Excel with fast automatic transactions, imports, easy templates, and a free 30-day trial. Sound good? Well, guess what? That's called Tiller. Head to TillerHQ-MWF for more. You'll get a 30-day trial. And if you use our /MWF at the end, you will tell them that we sent you, and that's how they thank us. So thanks to everybody who's used our link, tillerhq.com/MWF when they've used Tiller. Bobby, it's a new week. It's Monday. We're back.
Yes. How was your weekend, Joe?
It was the best weekend ever. I spent it in North Carolina. Can you have a bad weekend in North Carolina? I would submit that you can't. I would
No,
submit that
that's
it
on
is
my list
impossible.
of places to travel at some point in the future. I don't think I've ever been to North Carolina, but I hear it's lovely.
Something else that's lovely would be a vaccine, wouldn't it? And investors thought so last week when one vaccine maker's stock jumped up 16% on some good news. What are we talking about? Let's get into it. Let's see which one of our friends is going to help us kick off today's show. All right, this is written by Berkeley Loveless Jr. and is at CNBC.com, and it's titled Moderna shares jump as much as 16% after company says its coronavirus vaccine trial produced robust immune response. Moderna's shares soared after the company said its potential vaccine to prevent COVID-19 produced a, quote, robust immune response in all 45 patients in its early stage human trial, according to newly released data published Tuesday evening in the peer-reviewed New England Journal of Medicine. Moderna's stock rose more than 16% in after-hours trading on the news. All 45 patients produced neutralizing antibodies, which scientists believe is important for building immunity, and provided more promising data than the vaccine may give some protection against the coronavirus. In the trial, each participant received a 25, 100, or 250 microgram dose, with 15 people in each dose group. Participants received 2 doses of the potential vaccine. After 2 vaccinations, the vaccine elicited a, quote, robust immune response in all participants in all dose cohorts, Moderna said. The company said the levels of neutralizing antibodies in patients in the high dose group were 4-fold higher than in recovered COVID-19 patients. These phase 1 data demonstrate that vaccination with mRNA 1273 elicits a robust immune response across all dose levels and clearly supports the choice of 100, whatever that is, in a prime and boost regimen as the optimal dose for the phase 3 study. You ever seen that symbol before, Bobby? Did I lose Bobby? Moderna's chief medical officer, Tal Zak, said in a statement, "We look forward to beginning our phase 3 study of mRNA 1273 this month to demonstrate our vaccine's ability to significantly reduce the risk of COVID-19 disease." And we did lose Bobby there for a second. I'm glad we got you back.
I'm back. Hopefully my microphone sounds okay. Let me pick it up there. I think we're in May. Is that correct?
We are correct.
All right. In May, the company had released preliminary information from its early stage trial, but it lacked all of the data and it hadn't been peer reviewed yet. Moderna said the vaccine was generally well tolerated, but more than half of the participants reported mild or moderate symptoms such as fatigue, muscle aches, or pain at the injection site. Evaluation of the durability of immune responses is ongoing. Moderna said, and all participants will be followed for 1 year after the second vaccination. The effort by Moderna is one of several working on a potential vaccine for COVID-19, which has infected more than 13 million people and killed at least 573,200 across the globe as of Tuesday, according to data compiled by Johns Hopkins University. More than 100 vaccines are under development globally, according to the World Health Organization. Moderna earlier Tuesday announced it would begin the late-stage trial of its vaccine on July 27th. The trial will enroll 30,000 participants across 87 locations, according to clinicaltrials.gov. Participants in the experimental arm will receive a 100 microgram dose of the potential vaccine on the first day. Another 29 days later, they'll get another one. Some patients will also receive a placebo. And it goes on about that. It does talk about the fact that the U.S. is aiming to deliver 300 million doses of a vaccine for COVID-19 by early 2021. And also, it talks about the fact that scientists are still learning key aspects of the virus, including how immune systems respond once a person is exposed. The answers, they say, may have important implications for vaccine development, including how quickly it can be deployed to the public. It also talks about Dr. Anthony Fauci, one of the nation's top infectious disease experts, and he has often touted Moderna's potential vaccine. So that also gives it support. He said he is cautiously optimistic that scientists are going to be able to create at least one safe and effective vaccine by the end of the year or early 2021. That sounds, we're in July. That actually sounds soon now. I mean, I think when this started, we thought, a month or two. Now, with all the doom and gloom, late 2020, early 2021. That sounds kind of awesome.
Yeah,
to me at least. I don't know.
We heard that a couple of weeks ago from a former FDA chief that he thought that by early next year, either A, it's run its course through a lot of the population, or we have a vaccine. So I keep hearing that number over and over. When you hear one expert say something, you go, okay, maybe. Hear several experts say the same date, you start thinking maybe that's what we're in for. And obviously we don't want to get into public, policy or whatever. But I really like this idea of the hope, right? And people taking dollars out of their wallet, which is what we talk about here on the show, taking dollars out of their wallet, though, Bobby, they're investing it in hope, right? Here's the question: is investing in hope with your wallet a good idea? Is that a good use of funds?
Overall, no. However, I think we all can we can all talk about diversification. And if it's something that you want to do, it can be with money that you're prepared to. I mean, all investing money is, it's a risk. And just realize this is a higher risk, potentially higher reward, but this is a much higher risk investment because this vaccine might not work. I hope it does, but it might not. Or somebody else's might work, but maybe have fewer side effects. There's so many unknowns that it really, in this case, it's gambling. And you can do that with a very small amount of your portfolio if you want. Well, you can do whatever you want. I personally would only do it with a very small one. And I also would worry about the timing because the news is already out. So I think that, if there's money to be made just on hope, because if you happen to own Moderna, let's say you did not have inside information and you had the stock before this came out, the stock shot up on this. You could easily just, ride that and cash out and be done with it now. So, but that money is already in the money on this news. This news is priced into the stock. So what you're doing is assuming the stock's going to go up even more, or you could short it, which is a whole other discussion.
No, that's an interesting point, is that individual stocks go up for a couple different reasons on their own. They will go up, by the way, with the tide. We talked on Saturday about value stocks being undervalued as a group, right? Where the whole group doesn't get the appreciation that a growth stock gets. But when a stock goes up on its own, different than the tide, rising or lowering tide, it does that on two different things. The first one is on fundamental data, which means once a quarter, we will get earnings news out of that company, and they'll tell us how they did. And if they surprisingly do better than you thought that they would do, or less bad sometimes, right, than you thought they'd do, the stock will jump on earnings. So depending on how a stock fundamentally operates, if a company's really doing well, that stock will go up over time and will become a leader in its group. On the other side, it also goes up over news. Just plain news in that division. And I think this is more news than operations. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're making this vaccine, but if this vaccine doesn't go, what else do they have in the pipeline? Then it becomes this whole, what's the system of them making a bunch of things? So if you're buying this stock, you're not really buying Moderna. You're buying this
Moderna, but I'm not sure.
You're buying this vaccine play, right?
Yes.
You're not really buying the company. You're buying the vaccine. You're buying that the vaccine's going to go, which also means that you have to buy. So if it is news, I think you're exactly right, Bobby. And a lot of people don't realize that they will pick up this CNBC piece and they'll go, "Wow, I should buy it now." It's already jumped 16%. You got to hope for another piece of news. Which, don't get me wrong, if this really does work, there will be more news. And it may go up again because of that news, but you really want to buy it before the news comes out. There was one, I've only played this game a couple times. I don't know if you've ever played this game, but there was a time when I was in Detroit that Ford Motor was about to announce quarterly earnings. And just before they announced quarterly earnings, they came to an agreement with one of the unions 2 days before, and it was one of these periods, Bobby, where I just had a really clear head about this. I actually remember exactly where I was, and this was maybe 12 years ago. I was driving down the road, and I went, "Wait a minute, Ford Motor is going to declare earnings in 2 days." They just gave the union a bunch of stuff. There is no way they're saying anything negative. And in this period, all the auto manufacturers are saying negative. But they know that they're declaring earnings in 2 days. It's going to be positive news. So I bought big, a bunch of stock. The stock went up, I think, 6% over the next 2 days, and I sold. It's one of the few times I've held a stock for 3 days because I'm not that kind of person. But it was obvious what was going on. So before the news happened, I bought in and sold it the second the news came out, made a decent sum of money.
Right. So you had insight, but not insider information, which is
That's
a key
right.
distinction too.
But you can follow the trail like I did.
Mm-hmm.
There will be things that the company does in the days leading up to something. You're like, why would they make that move? Put yourself in the manager seat, and you might be able to do that. But I think it's much safer to buy a company that just has a history of low debt, a good innovation cycle where they have a team of people that are always creating new stuff. It sure seems a lot safer than betting on a new drug, doesn't it?
I think so. Look, like I said, if you want to buy this now, you're betting on it. It's already the news that's out is already out. It's already priced in. So you have to go in knowing that, with eyes open, and knowing that there is a very high risk. And I'm not sure if the return is already in there. So that's something
Baked
to consider.
in. Yeah, right.
Yeah, the return might already be baked in. So is it really worth the risk? That's something an individual has to think about. I'm sure there's some baskets of maybe there's a mutual fund of stocks that are all looking at vaccines to kind of hedge your bets on who's going to be the winner in terms of all these companies, because there are a lot of companies that are looking at different vaccines, and we're rooting for all of them, by the way.
Yeah, you could buy into a good biotech fund, you know, and not take the risk of a single investment. In just a second, Bobby and I are going to have our takeaway from today's piece. But before we do that, I want to say a big thanks to Tiller Money. Why would you use Tiller Money? Well, because of the fact that it's your financial life in a spreadsheet updated every day. Tiller Money empowers you with total control of your financial data, automatically organized in one place. Everything's customizable. There's strict privacy. And this is what I like, Bobby, because you pay a very small subscription, there are no ads. They're not shoving stuff down your throat that you might not want. Hello, Mint. I'm just saying. We believe, was that bad that I called out one of them? We believe money matters because life matters more at Tiller. Because your financial life is unique, you have your own goals and way of thinking about money. Most apps try to make choices for you. They force you to use irrelevant categories, limit how you see your data, and don't account for your most important goals. Instead, spreadsheets to the rescue. You can change everything. You can also work with templates that the Tiller community and Tiller have made themselves. Check it out using our link, tillerhq.com/MWF. And not only will you get a free 30-day trial, but also you'll get the low subscription rate and you can check it out. So tillerhq.com/MWF. And if you use that link, you also are helping Money with Friends. So if you're going to use it, please use our link. Thanks a lot, everybody. All right, Bobby, what's our takeaway today?
So happy that you brought this piece, Joe. So first of all, my first takeaway is thank you. I love hearing optimistic and encouraging news. I think that we all need it as we settle in to what is a much longer stretch than I think any of us ever anticipated. And I want to thank all the scientists working on this and all the volunteers. They talk about 30,000 people. We didn't really talk about that, but that's a lot of people that are contributing to science. So I think it's important that we as a society recognize them and thank them for their service. As for the investing angle, generally, look, I've seen this game so many times in my many years as a journalist, a business journalist. I did infinite earnings reports. And if you invest after the news comes out, or I should say press releases, whatever it may be, often it can be too late. The stock was jumping in pre-trading. So it didn't even wait till the actual trading day. If you waited till you heard the news, you were too late. But I think, Joe, you had great advice that, instead of looking for insider information, which is illegal, my friends, have insights, pay attention, take some stocks that you find interesting and just pay close attention. There's very often clues in a lot of the releases, just not things that would be in a press release, but documents that they put out maybe for SEC filings and stuff that have a lot of rich information, and they're public documents. And by reading them, you can really get some very cool insights as to where a company is headed. And that might be a good way to go if you are interested in this kind of investing.
Yeah, just ask yourself, why would a management make that move? Like, why are they doing that? I think if you ask why, you come up with a lot of stuff.
Why are insiders selling? Right, that kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah. Which brings up my takeaway. A lot of times, Bobby, I would see amateurs would bring me things that they wanted me to look at that were based on ideas. So-and-so has a good idea. This company has a really good ideas. You cannot invest on good ideas. There are horrible ideas that are executed really, really well that are fantastic buys. There are companies with phenomenal ideas that have dropped the ball over and over and over. Life is not about ideas, it's about execution. So actually going into what's called the fundamentals of a company and seeing if they have a history of executing, if they have people and the skill and the systems to execute, and you can see that, by the way, all in public information, I think that's a much, much better thing. Betting on a drug, I hope the drug happens, Bobby. I don't think that it's anything more than betting if you're betting on a vaccine.
Yes, I share those sentiments. Thank you.
What's if people want to help us make the show, sometimes we do Instagram polls for our shows. Didn't do one for today's show, but we certainly will later this week, I'm sure. How do people help us?
Our handle on Instagram is at MoneyFriendsPod. That is also our handle on Twitter. Stay close to Instagram. We'll also, in most cases, tell you when we will be taping. We record here on YouTube, on the Money with Friends YouTube channel. You can also follow us there.
And coming up tomorrow, Bobby's hanging out with, are you hanging out with Harlan Landis?
Harlan, yep, Harlan.
Awesome, from the Plutus Foundation, Plutus Awards. Rolling out here in just a couple months. So there's some interesting stuff there. I'm sure you won't be talking.
You're involved in that.
I may or may not be the host of the Plutus Awards this year, which will be a lot of fun. We're working on that right now. I've already got my joke I'm using to start the show, and I can't wait for people to hear it. All right. It's like a good dad joke. All right. Is there such a thing? She's Bobby. I'm Joe. She's back tomorrow with Harlan Landis. I'll be back later in the week with Tate Frazier from Frazier and excuse me. I'll be back with Tate Frazier. We'll see you again next time. I don't even know how to sign off. Bye-bye. That's funny. 18:30 again. That's good. Ron, what's interesting, and I put this on the screen, but we were too late looking at it. But here's what I think the PPP field's going to grow substantially. But here's the problem. It's going to grow substantially. They're going to create all of this stuff. And then when we finally have a solution, we're going to have all this excess stuff, right? So it's temporary. That's the frustration I have with investing in that area. So who knows?
But we don't know, because now my biggest fear is that these antibodies, like if you listen to Tom Hanks talk recently, his antibodies get lower and lower and lower. So you think your antibodies will protect you, but assuming we don't have a vaccine, if you get it, now they think you can get it again.
Yeah.
Which is really, really upsetting.
Yeah.
So we need the vaccine.
Guys, about 20 minutes. Lindsay Goldwert and I over on Facebook. We'll see you later.